This is where the fun begins.
Hello, everyone, and did you miss me? This is OG Star Wars, and welcome. This is your EU Elita, so welcome to CAFF Chat, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Good morning, good morning. And first of all, feel free to go vote for your favorite one Sith. Oh boy, and the cat is on my side. Yeah, so go ahead and go vote for your favorite one Sith, basically Darth Maladi, Darth Talon, Darth Nil, and Darth Crate here. So good morning, and if you're catching the replay, please let me know you came, and please hit the like button, hit the like button. That sounds kind of weird, huh? Right. Like the like button. And of course, we are here to chat and nerd out over Star Wars and laugh at some ridiculous stuff with Cringe Factor. And today's subject will be about Sith and Jedi lore with lightsaber lore as well. So we're going to just combine all that together. Cringe Factor, we're going to discuss how the purple lightsaber indicates not I was going to say Darth Talon because that's who I'm thinking about right now, but Maul's weakness here. So that's another Cringe Factor. But also, we are going to get into some other things as well. But with the Mace Windu's lightsaber for the Cringe Factor, I decided to conduct a poll on that. So I'll show you the results on that, and we'll go into that further. So I want to know, what is your favorite color lightsaber, or maybe your favorite lightsaber in general? So if you have a favorite one specific to you, whether it's a character's saber that you like or something that you imagine for yourself, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. And also, we'll have some lightheartedness with what Spielberg reveals. And my cat is right here. Say good morning to Darth Toby. What Spielberg reveals about George Lucas' Star Wars, I guess you could Star Wars tradition, I guess. And I thought that was fun to just, bring up and discuss a little bit as well. So let me see who's in the chat here. And sorry, I'm a little late. I just had had a little bit of issues here, but I'm here. I am here. And the Fracture Filter has been here for a little while. So good morning, all. Hit the like button and pull up some CAFF. I got my usual cream blend with a little Nestle cocoa powder and heavy whipped cream. Quite yummy. Oh, that sounds really decadent. Really, really decadent. And of course, I am pulling up with this right here since we are talking about Sith, Jedi lore, basically lightsabers, all of that. So thought this would be something good. And Iron Inquisitor, hello, good morning. And he says, I got my plain black coffee ready. Ooh, I gotta sneeze. Ooh. Okay, excuse me. Ooh. And if you can hear the purr, he's purring right now. So he's got a loud purr. And let's see here. And Shim, what's everyone? So I'm pretty sure you mean what's up, everyone. I understand with errors. And Orange Chat Review, one of the channel members, one Sith, two Sith, red Sith, blue Sith, right? Let's see here. Aussie Kitty, yep, that's Darth Toby here. Gay Luke Skywalker's super gay rainbow saber. There you go. Well, I'm glad you like that. I am super glad you like gay Luke Skywalker and his super gay rainbow saber. Because gay is, another word for being, happy or whatever. So, of course, Luke Skywalker is going to be happy. He has Mara Jade. My favorite saber color is the transparent blade of the Ghost Fire Crystal. Interesting. And I'm pretty sure if you want to share a little bit more of that in the history, because I'm pretty sure some people don't know, feel free to in the chat. Fraction Filter says, fave character Saber that I'd use similarly and do in Sator is Luke's episode 6 hilt, and Obi-Wan Kenobi's episode 3 hilt, and one with a red and another with a green crystal. Interesting. And as you guys know, gameplay basically is not really canon, because you can build things that are not existent canon. It's only canon in your head or for yourself. And let's see here, Ecardian, what's up? How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. And there's going Tuscan says they're going to add it in a new version of the OT called the Special Edition. The Special Edition. Yeah, and he's gone. He got tired of not being paid attention to. Let's see here. Inquisitor says, Ron's lightsaber, Kyle's first lightsaber, yes, as well as Tor Snippet's lightsaber, the one that Darvit stole, are underrated lightsaber hilts. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you guys come up with those responses and gave a little bit of insight on that. And so now color. Now, do you guys have a favorite color? I know some of you guys said a specific color, if you're having dueling with 2 or using 2, but what is your favorite lightsaber color? So, all right. So let me go ahead and pull up some stuff here. I did do a poll regarding lightsabers, basically the color or what they are for. And if they were made to I don't want that one yet. If they were made based on the person's morality, like the saber color and stuff was based on the person's morality, whether they're good or bad, or what you call gray, that one that everybody likes to say, there's gray Jedi, like, because you're morally ambiguous or in the middle. So, and Toby's back. Hello, Toby. Let's see what Orange Hat has to say. A little background on the Ghostfire. So there you guys go, if you guys didn't know. And I'm rocking a single hilt in yellow. All right, so why yellow? Is that your favorite color, or do you think it's very unique? Are you going for the sentient vibe that was created in the lore? Or do you like Rey? No, I'm joking. Or do you really like Rey because she's all the Jedi? You want to be all the Jedi. I'm sorry, Inquisitor. Iron Inquisitor. I just had to. And then Rodimus Prime says, and welcome to another channel member. OG, do you know how long Luke was on Dagobah? We're guessing about. There's guesses 3 weeks to a few months, or like a month or so, like that. I know in one of the source books I have, I think it's the Atlas, where it talks about his training. It specifically states the time, and my cat's getting into something back there, but I don't quite remember. I will post that on Twitter. Let's see here. And then Orange Hat says, if I had to choose a color, black core, white glow. Interesting. So the dark saber. And Tuscan, he's coming in with the hot takes. Let's see here. Tuscan says, I think people put way too much thought into lightsabers in general, but especially the color. To me, it should be about as relevant to the character as the color socks they are wearing. Yes, I get it. I do, because that's how I feel too. Now, as a viewer, I'm talking about lore, but as a viewer of the show, of this, the movies, or reading the material, or playing the games, usually the color will give the viewer, the audience who's looking into this world, into this universe or galaxy, a kind of an indication of like if they're good or bad, or if they're Sith or whatever, how they were trained in what arts or whatever, Sith versus Jedi. However, we know that in the lore, there are exceptions to the rules. We had, Sith that use different colors. Red was a preferable color, but it wasn't an indication of the morality or anything like that. And we do have Jedi who basically wore, used a red crimson color or whatever. And Leia is a good example. And I have a creeper behind me. Let's see here. Want to see? Look at that. Hello. How are you doing? All right, let's see here. So, but it's not based on the morality. The person who is wielding it, yes, they may be leaning towards bad or good, dark or light or whatever, but the saber does not indicate for them. It's the person themselves that chose that path, that chose that. And, Leia is a good example of having one of her sabers as a crimson color. Luke, her brother, had a red Shoto. And, and then we have Exar Kun, who had blue, and he was Sith. So, yeah. I'd have a standard hilt and Shoto hilt. And what I mentioned above. Awesome. Not everything has to have significance, correct? Oh, Lord. He is playing with my hair. Knock it off. Knock it off. This is going to be CAFF chat until he gets a little bit more mature and decides that, he doesn't need to be next to me all the damn time. This guy is like everywhere. Everywhere I go, he is like next to me. And he's purring again. He's purring. Okay. Iron Inquisitor says, laugh out. Having a yellow blade stands out a bit more, maybe because of Zane Clerics having a yellow. I know I had to give you a hard time on that. I just had to go there because that's just how I am. Orange Hat says, also the ghost fire doesn't produce sound when ignited. So, oh, okay, little one, you're going. Bye. All right. What Anakin and Padme do, how long they were Naboo Attack of the Clones? What Anakin and Padme do you know how long they were Naboo Attack of the Clones? Oh, when they were hiding out? I don't know. I never really bothered to look into that one. Really. I've been gravitating towards an orange blade, mainly because it's underused. Orange. Interesting. Now, as for myself, I do go back and forth. I really like a magenta, and I really like the green. So I go back and forth from that, and I wouldn't say it's because of my mood or anything like that. It's just that I can't decide between the two as well. So I'm like, let's see here. Traditional colors and meaning in the Jedi Order. Blue was for guardian class, green was for concert. And that was not always the case, because I believe that Quinlan Voss at one point was a Sentinel, but he never had a yellow blade. Red were mostly synthetic crystals. Yeah, so that's that. No, you're not getting in there. I feel like I have a toddler with me right now. Let's see here. Better to play with hair than bare skin. Oh, he's got me. He's gotten me on that. I think Darth Krayt might be my favorite one Sith. And speaking of that, let's take a look at the standings now. So as you are coming in, please vote your favorite one Sith. And these guys are from Legacy era. So this is like few generations from Luke Skywalker and Ben Skywalker. And, not these guys, but the time frame. And so we have Darth Maladi, Darth Talon. So Darth Maladi is at 9%. Darth Talon is at 36%. Darth Nil is at 9%. So Maladi and Nil are both tied. And Darth Krayt is at 45%. So I figured with the people I chose that they would be closer than what it is, but depends on the crowd and what you know. If you know the story, you might know more about Maladi and Darth Nil. And Darth Nil went up to 17%. So you guys are still at it right now. Let's see here. One on the topic of lightsaber color is a personality test. No, I feel like that stopped being important after the first Jedi purge. No, it's not a personality test. It never was a personality test. In fact, we're going to get a little bit into the lore, but I'm just going to let you know that Guess who were the inventors of the lightsabers? You guys know. Those who know the lore very well, hold out, don't say anything. So, like Orange Hat, don't say anything. So, who were the inventors of the lightsabers? Let me know in the chat. Tuska Bob says, surprised they haven't made a pink breast cancer awareness lightsaber. And you never know. You never know. And I don't really have any makeup on, so I apologize. I just woke up, did stuff around the house, had my breakfast, and set everything up, and had some technical issues with the setup, but life happens. So Luke was on Dagobah for a standard month. That's what I thought, like 3 weeks to a standard month or something like that. Okay. Orange lightsaber blade was employed by Jedi Master Yaddle. The Yaddle of the Yoda species. The tradition died out before the era of the movies. Yeah, once Luke created the new Jedi Order, that those little sects of in the order, kind of went wayside, because not everything, he wasn't able to collect everything regarding the order, because Palpatine did purge a lot of stuff. So not everything was he was able to, bring back to help him create the order. So that's why you see him like question the attachment thing as you get through the lore, because at first that was never an issue. Like his masters never told him about attachment, and of course that attachment was one of the things that basically they knew that they had to start stepping away from. So that was never taught to Luke about attachment, because if it was, and I'm not talking about George not planning for attachment OT and then bring it into the PT. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about lore wise. And then so, but we, so that's recognized as a fault of the old order that Luke corrected without knowing. And then later on, as he got more material and stuff, then he realized about attachment and stuff like that. So there's a nice little evolution of that there. Channel Starface, hello. The color of lightsaber is due to what your favorite color drink is. Really? So if your favorite color drink is black or brown, you're gonna have a black or brown lightsaber. That does not sound like brown lightsaber. I don't know. The Sith invented the lightsaber, didn't they? Correct. So the Sith are the ones that invented the lightsaber. So in the beginning, they did have your standard conventional metal blades. And then before, there was that schism between, light and dark and all this other stuff, and then and the formation of the Sith and stuff like that. I could be wrong, but anyways, so rewind that. But as the evolution began within the Force users and stuff like that, they had the power pack, I guess you could say. And then later on, the Sith invented the power conduit in the hilt and stuff, and that's how the saber was invented here, and that was then used by the Jedi. So when you read into the lore, and Palpatine's, I'm just using a blade to mock the Jedi, the blade or the saber basically is a Sith invention. So, but because it's more coveted with the Jedi than the Sith, that's where he comes and stands with, I'm just mocking the Jedi by using the lightsaber. So a little bit of interesting fact there. And D Nice Gamer, what's up? Hail OG Star Wars and chat. Good morning. And what is in your drink? What are you enjoying today? Let's see here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up, and I thought I had it in here. I thought I had my screen up and it, but I am going to, let me see, where is it at? Here it is. Oh boy, he is back. Did you hear that? Swear to God. My screen's not up. Let me see here. I don't know if you could see. Oh, he's down now. He's coming down right here. Darth Toby. All right. No, you can't come up onto the screen. All right. So I did this little poll here because I was very curious to see exactly. Come on, I need to bring the screen up. Come on. I was very curious. Ugh. There it is. Let me go ahead. I was very curious to see exactly what people thought, especially with how Disney is recreating what the saber is about and how the sabers are created, and all of that. So a lot of people today, especially if they're coming just directly into Star Wars Disney lore wise, they think it's like a mood ring. They think it's something that has to do with the good and bad, or being ambiguous, or being in the middle with your morality, all of this. And almost like a mood ring, I guess you can say, in that, the Sith, they take a crystal and they bleed it, basically. So they bleed it so it turns red, as if these crystals have blood, as if, you wound it enough for it to turn red, like blood or something like that, which I find is very, I don't like. It's like, ooh, it's like, if you want to cringe at something, that's something to cringe at, right? So do you think lightsaber colors are significant to the user's morality? Now, I asked people to share their thoughts in the comments below. I had some people misunderstand this whole question and went a whole different direction with it, and that's fine. So, example, blue equals good, red equals bad, and purple ambiguous, are like you're morally in the middle. So you're gonna use bad to justify, bad intentions for the good or whatever, aka gray. So, if you want to go that route. So, because blue and red makes purple, basically, that's why I use those as example. Of course, we have green, and of course we have other colors like white and yellow. So, like, I wouldn't say prominent colors. However, those are some of the colors as well. And of course, everybody's all the Jedi woman, Rey, she has that yellow. So this is the standings on here. So it was basically tied or near tie for a very long time. And here it's very relatively close as well. So 45.7%. I don't know how a person's vote is put you in a point percentage. And then no is 54.3%. So there's more people who are like, no, it's not really about the color, is not significant. The color is not about the morality. However, and I'm talking about lore, I'm not talking about if you're a viewer and watching Star Wars, because if you're just a viewer watching Star Wars and you don't understand, and maybe this is why we had yes, I don't know, but if you don't understand a bit of the lore, and that sabers are just sabers, right? And the reason why Sith carry red is because that's the color they prefer, and it's from synthetic crystals, right? And so looking at this right here, it's kind of alarming in a sense, because of the fact how Disney's changing the lore and how people are going to perceive all of this lore, all of the lore behind the saber, behind Jedi, behind Sith, what colors are significant for. And now it's like a mood ring kind of deal. And I think I've talked about this like maybe a year ago when the saber colors came up, and they want everything to have be significant. Now the saber in itself is significant to the Jedi because they see an extension of themselves, like a tool, an extension of self, really. But the color, and now my other point I was getting at too, is like, if you're the viewer, yeah, you're going to distinguish a Sith with a red saber, or the bad guy, versus someone with a blue or even green saber, or purple with a Jedi. But when you get into the lore, that's not the rule. So yeah. So let me go ahead and take a look at the chat here and see what you guys have to say about this. Oh, that's so gay. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna scroll up. Buzzy, how you doing? I think Luke's Jedi Order had a healthier environment. Let's see here, and that can kind of be debate, I guess you can say, but yeah, it was um, better structured than what the old order was. Brown lightsaber means chocolate milk. Chocolate milk. So the Jedi are appropriators. Yeah, they were basically at one point the Sith emerged from the Jedi. And so that goes all the way into the dawn of the Jedi and the lore there. That's like thousands and thousands of years. Okay, Buzz, then mine would be Lobacas because I love Coke and Pepsi and Coke Slurpees. Oh, that's a lot of sugar. Slurpees. Ooh. I don't drink sodas and I don't drink Slurpees anymore. Let me see here. Since I like beer, I guess my lightsaber is golden. How many guys here their saber is going to be like a tone of their favorite liquor? Let me see here. The Sith used to channel dark energy to their metal blades, which could stop a lightsaber blade. They began developing power pack sabers, which produced the first energy blades. Correct. And then after that, the Sith learned how to put the power conduit, I guess you can say, inside the hilt. So, oh God, I got to read this. Okay. False. Jim. Lightsaber color indicates sexual fetishness. So if you rock a yellow saber, you're it's a water sports. Oh my God. Oh shit. Silly kitty cat. My grandma's a flame rag doll hops on the desk here if I don't feed her right away. All this cat's fed, all of that. It's just that he is about 5-6 months old now. And so he's still pretty much a baby, I guess you could say. And so wherever I'm at, he needs to make sure he can see me. Disney Star Wars got me all effed up. That's why you return to the original lore. That's why you're here. Let's see here. Growing up, I thought it was just because they made the light that way from the saber. I don't know exactly what you're specifying. Like the light comes from the crystal. So if that's what you're talking about, yes. So the crystal is a light or a power conduit or like a little, a little light device from the power conduit, and it emits its light out through the crystal. Lightsabers are sentient beings now, correct? Remember that Luke Saber decided to tell Rey a story and spoke to her, and the Dork Saber has a mind of its own and can change its weight when it's being pissy, right? It's like a mood, like I said, Tuscan Bob, it's a mood saber. These are mood sabers now, it's like if the saber likes you, it will talk to you. So I don't know why Anakin Saber did not talk to Luke about like telling him what happened with his father. When he first picked it up. You would think that when Obi-Wan first gave him his father's saber, that it would have talked to him and gave him some insight, some like visions about what happened with his father and the order and all this other stuff, and probably say, are you sure you want to go down this path? Whatever. Yeah, so it's like the direction they're going with this, it's so idiotic. It's when you look back at a lot of the lore now, like especially the movies, not the EU in general, what they presented in the Disney trilogy puts a lot of questions and maybe creates maybe some plot holes, maybe very minor ones. But, basically Disney has made Star Wars into Swiss cheese when it comes to setting up story and being consistent and concise with the lore. That's all I got to say about that. And Sabers is one of them too that they really totally fucked up. Oh, that's so gay. Okay. My biggest issue with how kyber crystals are supposed to work is why don't we see more diverse colors on Geonosis if people are, and that's the thing. So in the original lore, and someone's like, you're saying that, that they didn't use our kyber crystals in the original lore. Not really. The only time that we really see kyber crystal is in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So when you hear them talk about kyber crystals in the original lore, that's basically what they call the crystal inside the saber. However, that crystal could be from different planets. It's not exactly a kyber crystal whatsoever, and it's a different type of crystal. So it depends on where the Jedi got the crystal, or even the Sith, how they made their crystal. And it also depends on, of course, the synthetic part of it or whatever. So it's not kyber crystal as you know it from what you've seen in Splinters of the Mind's Eye. That's just a vague name, or a generic name for the term crystal, saber crystal. They could be of various different types. And let's see here, Tuscan Bob. So it's kind of like the ring from Lord of the Rings and diamond from The Hobbit. You're asking Tess and that, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. Morning, Crimson Mist. How are you doing? And what is your choice of beverage as you sit down and get into this conversation? We are discussing lightsaber lore, and we're going to use that to talk about Sith and Jedi as well. So, and I'm going to bring up, and this is not going to be a cringe factor article. We can kind of consider it that, but I'm not going to treat it as one. So I'm going to bring up an article about Luke's force powers. And, so like I said, it could probably qualify as one because there's one thing in there that I've seen that I'm like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. But, I'm not going to use it as that. So Iron Inquisitor, the EU explained why we don't see many diverse colors during the prequel era. Yeah. So, a lot of the crystals were brought from from Ilum, and that is even in Clone Wars 03. So we see Barriss and her master go, and Barriss is, going to go choose her crystal as well. And on there, the predominant colors are green and blue. And they're not quote unquote kyber crystals either. Let's see here. I think they're a Degan or whatever. I probably said that wrong. Let's see here. And Matt G is in the house. Hello and cheers to you. So this is the standings on there. Like I said, this is kind of when I look at this poll that I created, it kind of gives me an insight on how Disney is changing the lore. So you're starting to see glimpses of how people are seeing the lore and how things are changing. And dude, you need to stop. All right. I'm talking to Darth Toby here. Or Toby. So this is, you're seeing a glimpse into, how they are changing the lore and how people view the lore. So it's not going to take another generation until like people are not, and I'm saying this with the deepest concern, and this is why I made my channel, is that a generation or two, they're going to think of Star Wars more in the light of Disney's focus than they are under George Lucas's era. So this is why I created this channel. So this is a sad glimpse into the direction of Star Wars, if you didn't already know. And I did share on Twitter that Lando, it's in one of the Disney Star Wars comics, and I don't know exactly which one, and I'm not going to really advertise that comic. You can research it and find it if you want to go take a look at it and read it. That's totally up to you. I am not going to name the comic or anything like that, and advertise that comic. But Lando was in a relationship with Holdo. Yep. So Lando and Holdo got it on, just for you guys to know. So a little bit of cringe there for you guys there. I was like, okay, well, I guess more power to him. Basically, how I see that is that Lando is not the true Lando. The true Lando is with Tendra, and they had a son together. So to me, it's like, go ahead now. I don't care now. Like, that's the direction they're going, right? I do care to a point, I guess you can say, but at this point, I'm like, let this shit come. Let's see how people respond to this. I am sitting back observing people who are fighting this quote unquote culture war, and seeing how they pick and choose on what to be pissed about. So I'm just sitting back watching observing. I am sharing my opinion here. I am expressing myself on Twitter as well. And with that, I'm like, okay, well, that's the Disney Lando, and he's with Holdo. Fine. I mean, if you guys hate it, good. I'm glad you do. But I'm not advertising the comic either. So Channel Starface says, "Damn, if the lightsaber reflects fetishes, the brown lightsaber has taken a dark turn. I don't want to go there. No. All right. How dare you?" Tesca Bob comes in and just plants all that in the chat. I mean, I don't know about the crystal growing up, and thinking on the Disney canon, they added unnecessary crap. That's a thing. Okay, so you need to get into, you have that instinct from hearing me talk and other people talk and discuss this about the direction that they're going, especially with the lightsaber crystals and stuff like that. So if you don't know much about the lightsaber and the crystals and how they were made, get into that, so you can be armed and prepared for if you are in a discussion with someone about the direction Disney is taking Star Wars and stuff. That's your power right there, I guess you can say, is your knowledge, is your research, and all of that. Let's see here. That's not what it says. I don't know what that's about. Let's see here. In Splinters of the Mind's Eye, it was called the Kyber crystal. Yeah, the Kyber crystal. So that's how it's spelled. It still is pronounced the same. Let's see here. I'll take 2 pink lightsabers, please. I'll take 2 pink ones, please. Lando with Holdo cringe level 9,000. Yeah, so that was shared over the night. I guess it was shared when I finally went to bed. I just could not fall asleep whatsoever. It's one of those nights sometimes I just can't get to sleep on a timely manner. And when I know I have to be up, sometimes that's when it happens. I don't know why. But yeah, so there's that. There is that. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and, whoopsie, wrong button. Let's see here. Make sure that I'm up here. Let's see here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just announce this. I'm not going to read the article here because we did talk about this on Spacing, about the late Mayhew's Star Wars memorabilia, that was found in their attic. Well, it was found, but they left it there. And I'm not going to, expand on my view on that anymore. But the auction company basically returned it back to the family. So there's that happy ending, I guess you can say. I have expressed myself here both on CAFF chat and on Spacing about I would have hired someone to go get that. Or myself, I would have been like, I'm sorry, sweetie, but I'm climbing my ass up in that attic. If that means so much to you, and I guess I am sharing my opinion now. If that means so much, I'm going to go get it because I love you. But I'm used to climbing and I'm used to doing things like, and I'm used to not being like, if I'm told what not to do, I'm going to do it. So, to an extent, I guess you can say. So if something means something important to my family and they're like, don't get it because you can hurt yourself, I'm going to find a way to get it because I know that means something to them. So that's what I'm talking about. If you tell me not to do it and it means something to you, and I know there's a way, when there's a will, there's a way, right? Then I will go do that. So basically it was given back. They didn't auction off and it's given back. So I told you guys I would update you guys on this. Whoops, wrong one. So there you go. And now my question to you guys is, if you moved into a new house and you knew there was like one of the actors from your favorite movies, like this here, Star Wars, with, Mayhew playing Chewbacca, and you found a memorabilia, something that they like, a script or something from the production of the movie that they had, what would you do? And I'm going into the morality of that. What would you do? Would you hold on to it and not even auction it, but hold on to it and keep it for yourself and pass it down the generations? Would you try to contact the actor or his family or her family and return it? So what would you do? Since, this is a little bit about morality because of the sabers and stuff like that we're talking about. And then I have Brandon here. How are you doing? Hello, OG. How are you doing, Brandon? Brandon, the anime guy, is in the house. So I am glad that you are joining us.
What kept you?
I always forget that I have those little clips that I can share and use for you guys. So let's see here. So what would you do? Would you hold on to it and hoard it for yourself and pass it on to the next generation in your family? Would you reach out and contact the family of the actor or actress or whatever and return it? Or would you auction it off and make some money off of that? Let's see here. And this is not to judge you guys. This is like something that, everybody's going to have a different opinion, a different answer. I probably would have just kept it myself and not said anything. I would have framed it. I would have kept it and put it part of my Star Wars collection. Let's see here. I would try and give it back to the original owner. Nice. Let's see here. I'd return the item to the original homeowner. And again, no judgment. I'm telling you, I would have kept it. I would have not auctioned it at all. I would have framed it and kept it and hung it up on my walls. Or put it in a protective binder casing and, or whatever. The fact it even went to auction was several steps too far to start with. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, someone's like benefiting off of what they could, earn from that. What if they were in hardship or whatever? Would you even contact the company like Lucasfilm to return? That's another one. Would you? I'm going down the thing here. I would return it to the family right off. That is how I was raised. That's pretty cool. I mean, I was raised with some morals too, but like, if I found it, I would have just kept it. I would be like, they were not interested in this. I'm keeping it. And Jaluk, hello all. Hey, how are you doing? And then Soul Assassin is finally making it in. Haha, Darth Talon for the lead. Yes, let me go ahead and take a look at that since you mentioned that. We're coming up on the hour. Darth Crate was leading for a while there. Let's see here. They're tied. All right, so Darth Melody is at 10%, Darth Talon is at 33, Darth Neil is at 24, and Darth Crate is at 33. So are some of you guys voting and not with your, with your heads like above your shoulders? Let me know. No, I'm joking. Anyway, so I'm not going there. I don't want to know the factor of why you're voting for some. I'm pretty sure because Talon is a very hot Sith. Anyways. And Angelic says, finders keepers. And Tuscan says, I would have set up a GoFundMe to raise $10 million. If the goal wasn't met, I'd burn it all. Wow, that is crazy. Him coming in with the hot takes here. He's like, 10 millions, I'm burning this shit. It's going up in flames. It's going to become dust. So, or you could say, Ash, please mail in your votes. Talents for the Talon. Yeah, so let's see here. So you guys, if you're coming in, please go vote. We do have a tie with Talon and her master, I guess you can say, if you want to say that. They are the one Sith. Next week, we will wrap this up with the Lost Tribe. I did not decide exactly who I wanted to pick from there. This was an easier choice to choose from out of the one Sith, since their faction is a lot smaller. So get your votes in. So far, Talon and Crate are tied. If we end with a tie, I will do another poll, and then you guys will vote again which one. So if we end with a tie, we'll go into the voting again before we close out CAFF chat today. So that's how I'll break a tiebreaker if that does occur. let's see here. And if you follow me on Twitter, I did post some things about an interview with Filoni, and I'm not going to discuss that here. I don't want to talk about him exactly right now. So you could scroll in my timeline and bring that up and see what's going on with that. Let's see here. And then, of course, follow me on Twitter. Check out my community page, all of that fun stuff. Let's see here. And Orange Hat says, oh, I know us guys are voting with our Dianoga tentacles. If you want to call that's all you. I went nil. Love his saber. Cool. Yeah, he's a very interesting character, very interesting in his features as well. I think these one Sith are very interesting in their looks, their features, their mission, their goals, I guess you can say. Very different and unique. So Darth Crate really put something different together. Let's see here. And let's go ahead and get into some more lore. But with that, I'm going to pull up this article. Like I said, I am not using this for Cringe Factor. However, this does kind of qualify for Cringe Factor because of some takes in it. And then we will get into what Spielberg has to say about George Lucas, and then we'll get into Cringe Factor here. So this is going to go a little bit quick. It's going to help us talk a little bit about lore. I'm using this as a subject topic for lore, so we can get into some of the abilities of the Jedi. Doesn't mean it has to be specifically to Luke. So whatever your favorite Force ability is, let me know in the chat. And with the lightsaber lore, when one is creating their lightsaber, of course, they either make a synthetic, depending on the era of Star Wars you're into. Like the New Jedi Order is very different on how saber crystals were found versus the PT era. However, when one makes their saber, they do meditate with the crystal. They do kind of like I guess you can say bond with it in the Force or whatever. So it's not like they're putting their personalities or anything like that, but they're becoming familiar with that crystal. Doesn't mean the crystal's sentient at all, because a crystal is a Force conduit, I guess you can say. But it's not a sentient being, not in the least. Disney lore, yes, it is, but that's not true Star Wars. We're not talking about that. So they do meditate with it. When Sith make theirs, they do basically, I guess you could say, meditate with it and do bond with it with their abilities, I guess you can say, and also with the hilt as well. It kind of strengthens the saber with the dark side. However, that doesn't mean it is based on the person's morality. Because we've known that, like, if any Jedi picks up a saber, they could still use it. It doesn't stop him, and the blade doesn't change color either to their preferred color based on their morality. So there's a little bit of history on that. I did share a little bit of my first four videos about the Jedi. I have to get into Luke's order because a lot of this is pre OT, I guess you can say, on the Jedi lore. And then I got to go way back into the Jedi history and do videos on there. So I shared 4 videos about Jedi lore. So if you guys want to check that out, you can find them here on my YouTube channel under the lore playlist, EU lore or something like that. I forget the exact name of it. Or you can go ahead and just scroll down on my Twitter and find them and watch them there. So I already shared them on Twitter. They are, of course, here on my YouTube. So let's get into this. So again, this could have qualified as Cringe Factor, but I'm not going to use it because we have a bigger discussion for Cringe Factor. So 11 remarkable Force powers Luke Skywalker had in Legends, but not canon. Actually, it is canon. It's George Lucas era, so it's made under his approval, his guise, all of that. Luke Skywalker has numerous incredible Force powers in the Star Wars franchise. Again, share with me, what is your favorite Force ability? I like to say Force ability than Force powers, but it goes back and forth here. Even in the original lore, they do say powers as well. But what powers, abilities are exclusive to his Legends, are exclusive to his to him in general? Let me see here. Let me go ahead and move that to the side there. The kitty's finally fallen asleep, and I'm so happy about that. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Uh, let's see here. I will admit that Darth Maladi was a cunning Sith, created a virus to kill everyone except for the Sith, and tricked the Emperor into using it. Correct. That's why I used him on top of the other three, because he had, he was very, very unique. And I guess you could say cunning. Synthetic crystals are more powerful, but are unpredictable. Yeah, and Luke Skywalker, if you want to know how Luke originally and canon-wise made his crystal or made his lightsaber and stuff, Shadows of the Empire is a excellent read for that. You'll get into the lore. You'll get more into the lore on that. So there's a recommendation. There's homework for you guys. Read Shadows of the Empire, because OG Star Wars said, don't make me bring out my ruler. Legend, but not canon. Go. Yeah. So again, you guys have a reading assignment. Don't make me bust out that ruler, you guys. Make no mistake, if the found items were scannable, they'd all get scanned before returning them. And you'll be like marking it original, first of the original, or first of the copies and stuff like that. Let's see here. All right. My favorite force power is levitation. Okay, cool. Let's see here. All right, so let me get into this. And like I said, this can qualify as a cringe factor, especially for one of the abilities that is shared here. Because if you are familiar with Thrawn Trilogy, you would know that this is not a force ability whatsoever. So we'll get into that. Luke Skywalker uses numerous force abilities, blah, 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 blah. So we already know all that. So here is one, force protection. So this is basically, I believe, from the Jedi Academy trilogy. And he's searching for, people to train, people who want to, with force abilities that want to become Jedi. So he has enacted the new Jedi Order, is on search for potential new Jedis. So he was challenged to walk across the fire like this and battle the fire dragon. I don't remember exactly the name of this one. I don't recall it. So if you guys do in the chat, just share it. So yeah, so Jedi search. So yeah, so I was right. I wasn't even reading. So I was just going off the picture. And so he was using force protection. So basically he was using, and you probably would see this and could probably think that this was kind of used with Obi-Wan and Anakin when they were fighting and dueling on the lava, or and stuff like that, using force protection against the heat and all of that. So his clothes were singed up, of course, but his body was unharmed. And so again, this can go back to the prequel trilogy, force protection, creating like a force bubble in a sense to protect your skin and your body from the heat and the lava. Another one is battle meditation, and we do see that in used in various parts of the lore. And Leia was another one who has the battle meditation. She said that she's gifted with that. However, we don't really see her use it much at all. She became a full-fledged Jedi at the end of the Darkness trilogy. So battle meditation is another one, also known as force melding. So we already know that even the Solo kids had that, and that was proven in the New Jedi Order as well, the series, when they were flying through Lando's Folly, I believe it's called. And they also used that to, fight the Vong and stuff like that. So this is another one. So again, what are your guys' favorite force abilities? And this is a common one here, and you could kind of sense that, other Jedis use that, especially back in the PT era and before the PT era. So this is another one here. And we also know that Palpatine used battle meditation. Jason, Solo, or Darth Caedus used it as well. Let's see here. All right. So let me get into this. And we all know that even the Solo kids had that, and that was proven in the New Jedi Order as well, the series, when they were flying through Lando's Folly, I believe it's called. And they also used that to, fight the Vong and stuff like that. So this is another one. So again, what are your guys' favorite force abilities? And this is a common one here, and you could kind of sense that, other Jedis use that, especially back in the PT era and before the PT era. So this is another one here. And we also know that Palpatine used battle meditation. Jason, Solo, or Darth Caedus used it as well. So this this melding or battle meditation where they link through each other in the force so that they can be effective during battle and know each other and strategy and all that stuff. So let's see here. And now this is the one that is not a force ability whatsoever. So it's not a force power and it's not a force ability because you cannot harness the force being around the Islamaries, or however you want to say that. So resist Islamary. That is not a force ability or power. So I'm going to see what you guys have to say about this. Let's see here. Shadows of the Empire Audible book. Thank you for helping them out. Let's see here. Let's see here. So thank you for sharing that. So I know the most read EU book ever is the Thrawn trilogy. And with that, we know that Luke wasn't able to use the Force. If he was able to resist the Islamary, he would be able to use the Force. He did not use the Force whatsoever. Let's see. Anyone can see this, the chat. All I see is darkness. I don't know. I see the chat. The chat is popping in my part of the stream because I have a separate window pulled up. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe restart and let's go ahead and take a look at the standings here. We are now past just 1 minute past the hour. So this is the standing. So if you didn't vote and you're coming in, get your vote in now. I'm going to close this because I think we are finally at a conclusion. I try to close it like maybe, a few minutes past the hour. On the first hour that we're here talking about Star Wars. So Darth Maladi is at 8%, Darth Talon is at 42%, Darth Nil is at 16%, and Darth Cray is at 36%. So Darth Talon is now at 40%. So this is the end of the poll. I didn't have to use a tiebreaker. So the poll is ending. Thank you guys so much for voting. Darth Talon made it through. Congratulations, guys. I am so glad that maybe your preferred person made it through. And Margie goes, yeah. And then, what the fuck? And let's see here. It's restarted altogether for viewers. I don't know what you're talking about. Ugh, YouTube. What? I don't know what's going on because on my window, I have my stream up on another window here and you guys are hopping. I see the chat and everything. And then I also see the chat and StreamYard. So I don't know what's going on. We never know what's going on. YouTube is crazy. Okay, I see people appearing. We're fine. All fine. How are you? Kind of sound like Han Solo, huh? We're fine. All is fine. How are you? And then Steve Von Rex, Darth Talon, woo! I put in that woo for you because that's just what I got from that vibe. Orange Chat says the chat never disappeared here. Okay, it could be person's computer. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm just glad that it's not across the board. And we have 7 beautiful souls here. Thank you guys again for tuning in. The viewing is low today, but you know what? That's okay. Because I'm here, we're talking Star Wars, we're having fun, and thank you guys for your continued support. I don't have any really heavy topics where people are like, oh, this is controversy, and my CAFF chats are not always going to be that way, but that's fine. We're talking about Star Wars. We're nerding out about Star Wars. Let's see here. That, thanks, totally meant to include the woo, yep. You're welcome. Macs versus PCs. Well, yeah. Let's see here. I'm on a regular PC here myself. I don't have a Mac. Let's see here. Let's get back into that article now so we can move on to Cringe Factor and we can get into more of the meat and potatoes about this lightsaber lore and stuff. So basically, this resist Yuzlamari is not a force ability. So let's see here. So they say and I'm going to read this. In legends or in original lore, the inner rim world of Merkur is home to the lizards known as Yzlameri, who repel any use of the Force within certain proximity. So that's like, like a circumference of like 10 meters or so. I don't know. This power was evolved as a defense against predators that use the Force. So the Vornksters, I guess you could say. Um, An imperial leader such as Grand Admiral Thrawn used Yzlameri against Jedi, since blocking the Force, a fundamental element of the galaxy itself, is not possible. Yzlameri simply prevented anything near them from using the Force abilities. So they created a bubble of protection. So if you're within that bubble, you cannot use the Force. The Force itself is still existence, but you cannot use the Force. It shielded them from them being seen by the predators as food. As revealed in James Luceno's Agents of Chaos Heroes Trial, Luke Skywalker can resist the Force repelling abilities of the Yzlameri. Not really. He just knew how, from experience from Heir to the Empire. He knew how. He knew he can rely on his abilities and his trained abilities to move past that. That's from experience. It's not a Force power. It's not something that he developed. He just learned that he can still rely on his abilities even under the guise of this Force ability blocking species. So, what do you guys think? Did you guys read Heroes Trial? The Agent of Chaos 1 Heroes Trial? Let me know, and let me know what you guys think about that. So, and then we have electric judgment. So when we talk about, and I've been in this debate many times before on and off the internet, is that, the Force lightning is basically a dark side ability. The intentions behind it, yes. And when you have the dark side intentions and abilities behind it, it's lethal. You want to kill. It's all about, again, the key word here is morality, I guess you could say. It's all about what you want to do with it. So now with this electric judgment, this is a bit weaker, and it's more or less about stunning the person rather than killing. It's still like teeters on that fine line of crossing over to the dark side. So it's one of those, if you don't have total control of your emotions, that can put you off to the dark side. So like Mace Windu, when we get into the Cringe Factor part of the show, which is pretty soon here, it's not that he was, going gray and using moral ambiguity as a Jedi. It's just that he knew how to control the emotions. He was so keen into controlling emotions. And when he reinvented or reconstructed Vapad, or whatever you want to call that, that dual ability, that lightsaber, form, it was all about sheer control of the emotions when you use it. That's why he never really trained anybody else to use it. There's maybe one or two people, I guess you can say, and I'm being a bit hyperbolic there, that learned how to use it. When Quinlan Voss learned and tried to use it, he didn't use it successfully. So, because he wasn't able to control his emotions. And that's what that means. So Mace wasn't going gray. Mace isn't gray. He just had that sheer control of emotions. So with this electric judgment, so basically, Force lightning, they said, is used only by the strongest Sith lords. Well, not really, because the only reason why Darth Vader really didn't use it is because he's more machine than man. But there's an equivalent ability incorporated by the dark side and rarely used by Jedi. Darth Plagueis's disparaged electric judgment as a facsimile of the Sith power given the Jedi draws upon the Force through nature rather than corrupting it. Luke used this power in James Luceno's The Undefining Force to defeat the alien Yuuzhan Vong warriors. So there you go. Let me see what you guys have to say. And I'm trying to rush through these so that we can get to Cringe Factor and move on with some of the lore. Let's see here. Love the Thrawn trilogy. Never read the Heroes story. Will need to check that out. I would say once you get into the New Jedi Order, read them in order. So if you haven't read Agent of Chaos 1, I would say, excuse me, start in order. Wow. I need to take a sip here. Let's see here. So start in order. Don't skip through. If you find them on Audible, they're not the full version. So I would say read and then listen to the Audible. Electric judgment is like a force static shock, then lightning. So it's like putting your blaster from kill to stun, right? Jedi can't fully use the force lightning because they're not willing to go all the way with it. Correct. That's another good way to put that. Didn't Plo Koon use electric judgment in the story somewhere? I believe he's one of them that has used it. Not everybody does. Yeah. So there you go. So let's go ahead and finish this off here and then go into Cringe Factor. Force concealment. There you go. So my favorite story, so they're referring to darkness, to the New Jedi Order, but force concealment are hiding in the force or cloaking yourself. And you do see that also in various other places. Where someone, and I'll just read it, Sith Lords and dark side practitioners have long concealed their presence in the Force. But Luke Skywalker and other Jedi are known to have done the same in Legends or in original lore. In Troy Denning's Star by Star, Luke makes his presence in the Force seemingly disappear, preventing Jaina and Jacen Solo from seeing him. In an even more impressive feat, Luke masks his presence as well as that of others around him in Denning's darkness too. So basically what he did is that he created a force illusion in darkness to the unseen queen. So he made it look like something else was happening while disguising them or concealing them in the force. And that took a lot of strain on him to where after he was done, and he really didn't use it after, so he never really force cloaked them anymore. In that sense, when you read Darkness 2, the Unseen Queen, he never really used it again because when he was done, his appearance, like his face looked weathered, looked haggard, like kind of like Palpatine's in a sense. And so he never used it afterwards. And when Han's like, disguise this again, he's like, I'm not going there. I'm not going to use that ability anymore. So he recognized on how like strong it was and his ability to use it. So he used some wisdom through that. So, but then there's also hiding self in the Force, which we get into in Legacy of the Force. When he disguised himself, where he made himself unseen through the Force, where only Ben, his son, could see him. And he snuck up into, he faked his death. He snuck onto the Anakin Solo, and he witnessed his son being tortured by his nephew. And Ben felt him, but Jacen did not. So that right there was a crazy, amazing story in itself. So I guess you can say this force concealment is too vague. There's more to it, and there's different abilities that can kind of like be considered force concealment, but not really, like, so there's that. And enhanced strength. So we know this is an ability. And force concealment are making one appear different than who they are. I guess you can say in TCW, Filoni's thing, Obi-Wan did that as well. He disguised himself and concealed himself within the Force so that Anakin wouldn't know he was that bounty hunter and faked his death. So force enhanced strength basically is force enhancement. And basically that is using the Force to help strengthen you, especially when you're haggard or injured in the Force and stuff like that. You can also use enhancements and strength to help you run faster, all of that. So that one is another one. enfold space. So here's another one here. In the original lore, Luke Skywalker learned from the other Force traditions. So basically, this goes into other Force societies, not just the Jedi. He spent time with a group called the Anti-Monks. So basically, this is where you take one object and you see it move to another part of the room or another part of the planet. I don't know. So basically, it's called fold space. Excuse me. So you're moving the object in the Force. So yeah. And then Anya Seth is another one that he learned. So from his retracing Jason's hiatus or his sabbatical, his hiatus, and where Jason went and learned from different societies, Force societies, because he wanted to learn about the Force and how it's perceived by different beings, different societies. He had all those questions about the Force, and so he went out and studied it himself. So this Anya Seth basically is a unique Force power by the Barando sages, which is a Kaldor Force using group of the Doran. And so we basically know Plo Koon is from that society. Similar to the Force concealment, Anya Seth made its user's brain undetectable by masking them with a form of electromagnetic radiation. In the Fate of the Jedi series, Luke Skywalker uses Anya Seth to protect the late Mara Jade starship. There we go. So that's what I was just talking about. It was at the disguising all that in the Kethel Rift. So by this time, from Darkness to Fate of the Jedi, Luke has increased in strength in the use of the Force. So we see that evolution because he was really he strained himself basically when in Darkness, when he was learning that, when he was using that disguise. Shatterpoint, now we know. So here we go. So here's Mace Windu and his purple saber, or his amethyst saber. So this is one thing that we learned about in the lore, and this is basically titled for the book, the self, his own personal novel, I guess you can say, Shatterpoint. And so, of course, we know Mace Windu basically is one of the few Jedis who was had that ability. So the user sees weak points in the objects, opponents, or even situations. So that's looking in the Force and finding weak points, whether it's objects, physical, or materialistic, or even in logic or connections between people. And so Luke Skywalker basically learned that as well. That's one ability that he learned, and he taught his niece Jaina Solo how to use that, because Jason learned the ability, whether he learned it on his hiatus for 5 years before Legacy of the Force or Legacy era begins or not. We don't have that exact story, but Jason learned how to use it. He basically seen the Shatterpoint in the Mandalorian armor and just tapped his saber on it, I believe, from what I remember, and that shattered it, and then he just shoved the saber into the guy's chest. So there you have it. And of course, oneness with the Force, basically becoming a Force ghost. So we already know that that was something that was reintroduced by Qui-Gon Jinn. And that's an art that was lost over the years by the Jedi. And Mace relearned it, brought it to Yoda. Yoda learned it. And then we have Obi-Wan, who did himself under Qui-Gon when he was in exile, and then taught it basically to Luke, and all that. So when you become a Force ghost, you become one. You have oneness with the Force. So there you go. And then traversing beyond shadows. And here's Abeloth. So here's another one here. One of the most powerful dark side beings, Abeloth, resides in the realm where Force users separate their minds from the bodies, called Beyond Shadows. So this is another ability that was used by a different society other than Jedi or Sith. Luke is able to travel beyond shadows to learn of Abeloth and later battles her, combining his traversal beyond shadows with oneness and to destroy at the same time. So basically, this is when he teams up with Darth Krayt, and they don't necessarily destroy her, but she is severely weakened. And so when we get to Crucible, this is where they're looking for, basically the dagger to destroy her or get her locked back up. So that's a bit of story here. So what do you guys think about these Force abilities? And what is your favorite Force ability as well? Let me know. Let me see what you guys have to say. Was he concerned from Vader that the DS2 in Return of the Jedi, or could Vader sense him but couldn't pinpoint him? He wasn't concealed from Vader. He didn't know how to use that ability. He was still very green in using the Force. So there you go. So always thought that part was a little strange, and I don't know what part you're talking about because I haven't seen what this was commenting towards. I'm extremely ignorant to Force abilities. Apparently, that's fine, and that's why you're here, to learn a little bit more. Let's see here. Playing KOTOR was very eye-opening to a lot of Force abilities that weren't widely advertised, right? Because the movies can only give so much. Definitely, yeah. So let's get into Cringe Factor here, and then we'll end here. Not end here right now, but then this is the last part of the show, so we'll get into Cringe Factor. So stay tuned, grab your drinks, refresh your cup with whatever favorite drink you are drinking, and let's get into.
So uncivilized.
And our Cringe Factor article is basically this from Screen Rant. Of course, thank you, Screen Rant, for always providing, and it sounds like advertising thing, right? Articles for Cringe Factor so we can laugh, cringe, and just make fun of and discuss how maybe inaccurate all of this is. So, Mace Windu's lightsaber hint at his dark side weakness. Now, when you look at Mace Windu, knowing who he is, his personality, that because Samuel L. Jackson basically is the one that created this very unique Jedi, right? When you look at him, what do you think of him? Do you really think he has weaknesses? And so this is by Bradley Prom. And Mace Windu is one of the most popular Jedis, but there are subtle hints in lore and his history that hint at an unexpected connection to the dark side. So there's a connection to the dark side, but they're saying that the lightsaber hints at his dark side weakness. So this is why I made that post, because it's seemingly going into like the color of the saber and the morality of the person, basically. So let's get into this. Let's see here. Star Wars lore hints at Mace Windu's potential vulnerability to the dark side of the Force, played by the iconic Sam L. Jackson. Mace is generally considered one of the most popular Jedi of all time. And this is where we get into past Twitter discussions about people hating on Mace because he put Ahsoka in her place, which I thought was, if that's one thing I say I'd like about, the Clone Wars, is him putting Ahsoka in her place. But anyways, I digress from that. The character's debut, basically, blah, blah, blah. He's just giving him a description of like where he came from and all that. Officially the master of the Jedi Order, an elected position that effectively means he was head of the Jedi High Council during the prequel trilogy. Now, let's get into that. He was Grandmaster, or he was up for Grandmaster, and he turned down that position. So his position is, head of the council, but at one point he turned down the Grandmaster, and that was given to Yoda. So there's a little bit of vague history here. I'm not going to get into all of it. Those who know it can probably put it in the comment a little bit more here so you guys can read that. Mace is a powerful Jedi who possesses a unique relationship with the Force. The expanded universe, it's not old. The expanded universe, the original lore, grants him a mysterious power called Shatterpoint. And we just talked about that, allowing him unique insights, and this has recently been recanonized. So actually they basically bastardized it, if you want to say that. But Mace is best known, and I'll have to look into that, and do a compare and contrast. I have a lot of shit to do. But Mace is best known for his trademark purple lightsaber, a blade Jackson himself requested, although marketing for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, originally shows him possessing a blue saber. That's correct. So Mace Windu's purple lightsaber color shows a moral ambiguity. See, there we go. That's why I did that poll. Because blue and red, yes, in art and in visuals make purple. But that doesn't mean that blue equaling good and red equaling bad will make a moral ambiguity type color blade purple, meaning that this is like a mood ring here. The original Star Wars film used blue and red to signify the binary good and evil. But so that's just visuals for the audience to distinguish. But in the lore, that's not the case. Return of the Jedi opened up the possibility of other colors when Lucas used green for Luke's new lightsaber to stand out from the blue sky. And that's been discussed time and time again since Return of the Jedi. All behind the scenes came out and all that. Star Wars Expanded Universe introduced many different lightsaber colors in novels and comics, leading to Jackson's request for a purple one. I don't know if that really led to it. I don't think that he was really privy to reading any of the novels. He's an actor. I mean, so I'm not saying that maybe he was or wasn't a fan of Star Wars, but, a lot of these actors and stuff like that really don't read, the lore and stuff. Star Wars has given lightsaber colors special meanings in legends or in the original lore. Purple points to moral. No, it does not. Purple in original lore, it does not point to a moral ambiguity and uncertainty. It does not. Mace is not uncertain of himself. He is a person who is of total confidence in his own abilities. He is so mature and has control of himself that he is able to use Vapod or Vapod. I always screw that up. Vapod or whatever. If he was so unsure of himself and have a little bit of conflict and doesn't know if he should go light or dark or whatever, and he is conflicted, then he, like, that force or that lightsaber form, Vapod or Vapod, he wouldn't be able to use it because it would turn him because he is conflicted. See what I'm getting at here? So this is where, again, where Disney is making this into a moral connotation of the lightsabers. Like the colors are like moon rings, I guess you can say. So if you are conflicted or if you're like on the towing the line between the light and the dark, you're using bad intentions for the good or whatever, then you're going to have purple saber, which is not the fact. So let me see what you guys have to say about this, because I am very much interested in what you guys have to say. And I have 15 comments here. Let me see. Let's see here. My favorite dark side ability is dark side tendrils. Let's see here. Let me go down. Windu has bad mofo written on his lightsaber for a reason, right? And says Mace Windu admits he rides the penumbra between dark and light. His whole philosophy is using his darkness as a weapon. But see that he has control. That's what I'm talking about. He's not gray. He's not basically riding between those two, because if he didn't have control, he would fall to the dark side. And that's the point here. He has control of his emotions and all of that. So never let your actor bully you into giving him his own unique lightsaber. I don't think it was a bully, but that I love that. That's funnier. Let's see here. That's all expanded universe. Ye old expanded universe. Lightsabers are mood rings if you're a Star Wars activist. No, Mace used purple because he was a Prince fan. Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. Yep, that's the reason why. Dear, purple rain, purple rain. I got to see one of Prince's last concerts before he passed away. Amazing. I grew up, he was one of my favorite singers growing up. Let's see, I always pronounced it Vapod. So Vapad, Vapod, who knows? Like that Cursant and Curse Cant or whatever. Before it was really announced on in the PT. Mace's lightsaber's name is Apollonia. Damn. And James Unchained, how are you doing? We are talking about a Cringe Factor article on purple lightsaber, sharing that Mace Windu has a dark side weakness. That lightsabers in the new lore, they're trying to say in the original lore, is a mood ring, but it is not a mood ring. Let's see here. Let's go back to the article now. So here we go. A mix of blue and red. Purple represents both the light and the dark side of the Force. No, it does not. It does not. It's just the crystal color. If you read Shatterpoint, the crystal was gifted to him. It was a gift. It wasn't that, oh, I'm walking between the dark and the light, and he's holding this crystal, and all of a sudden it just appears purple. It was a gift. It's a type of crystal. It's not based upon the morality of the person. It doesn't change the colors based on the person's morality or wherever they're going with their virtue and their mission in life on how they want to act. Their choices of being good or bad, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Well, it all came from simple question. Jackson asked Lucas, this color coding aligns with Windu's character, subtly revealing his potential to fall to the dark side's corruption. Actually, what I said again, and I will iterate this once more, he had control of his emotions. That's why he was able to successfully create another version of Form 7, I believe it is, Vapod or Vapod, because he was in control. He was in control of his emotions. Do you realize that if he wasn't in control of his emotions, that maybe Palpatine could have convinced him to turn or use that psychological manipulation of, I feel the dark, I feel your anger, blah, 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 blah. Really? So he was in total control. He knew what he was doing. He was in the light. Now, with the Vapod, like I said, who knows how it's pronounced. I'm going to have to figure that one out. Maybe I'll look back on some audibles and see how that is pronounced. But my point is that if you didn't have control of emotions, control of yourself, you can fall to the dark side easily. And again, Quinlan Voss is a great example. So if you read the Republic comics, he does use that ability and begins to fall, teeters and falls a little bit into that. And Mace points that out in that comic. And I don't exactly remember which number of the Republic comics that is and the title of that. But I believe we did review this on Coffee Chat in the past. Significantly, other Jedi from the original lore who've used purple lightsabers include Mara Jade, Anakin Solo, and both whom have important connections to the dark side. Not really. Okay, so with Mara Jade, when you get into her lore and you read more into her lore and stuff, and how Luke discusses with her, and I think visions of the future, she was never trained in dark side abilities, and she never went dark. So that's not an indication either. So if she was trained in the dark side and stuff like that, or even because she worked for Sidious, the lightsaber crystal, the color is purple, not because of morality. As with Anakin Solo, his saber, we know him to be with blue and then purple. So, but when you get into Star by Star and when you get into his lore, he was solely entrenched with the light side. So much that he was given his life, and as he was giving himself into the Force to save the others in Star by Star on Merkur, at the Vong facility above Merkur on that moon or whatever it's called, I forgot the name of it. Anyways, he was becoming one with the Force, that he started glowing with the Force, I could say, with the light. So that doesn't mean Jaina Solo has a purple saber. She's a sword of the Jedi. However, she's light. The only time we see her have conflict is when her brothers, when she feels she lost both of her brothers and she was going dark. But that doesn't mean that's the reason why her saber is that color at all. Because if the lightsaber color was like a mood ring and it changed, or the color determines on your morality, good, dark, or somewhere in between, good, bad, somewhere in between, then her saber probably would have been blue or green from the start and then changed purple when she started teetering to the dark side. See how stupid this is? See how this reasoning is? So I'm going to go on. Mace Windu's lightsaber color was rare and possibly controversial. So too was his combat form. Mace was an ardent protector of Form 7, also called Jayu, or the ferocity form, an ancient style. So he didn't use Jayu in its truest form. He reinvented it. He created another version of it. And that's the difference. This guy here does not know how to do his research. So yes, it is aggressive. Windu developed his own variation. There we go, Form 7. So there we go. It's underlined there. I can't read, I guess. Called the Vapad. So basically, don't say he was the ardent practitioner of this form when he basically was not. He created something similar and called it Vapad to better channel his strengths and distance himself from Jayu's natural affinity with the dark side. Form 7 was dangerous and highly effective as it relies on relentless offensive moves imbued and enhanced by the user's extreme emotions. Again, it's aggressive form, yes. When you get into the forms, there are some form of aggressions with it, unless you get to the form that Obi-Wan does, and I forget the name of it, Sorsu, I believe. And then it also lets him use maybe his emotions, but he has control of them. So this is where you're still in the light. He has control of emotions. The latter directly contradicts the Jedi code. Not really, because he still has control. If he didn't have control of his emotions, he would fall. And that's the point I'm making here. Even with using Vapad, he has control of his emotions. And this is what this author fails to see. Let me see what you guys have to say. I want to see what you guys are saying in the comments. Let's see here. Disney really wants the Grey Jedi to be a thing. Yeah, and that's the thing with everything. They want this middle ground of ambiguity of like, oh, well, I'm using these bad intentions for something good. So basically treading on that. Jedi Poodoo. Star by Star, thank you so much. The New Jedi Order, thank you so much. The only other Jedi mastered Vapad was Deep Dippa. Yeah. She, however, went mad and turned to the dark side when on Mace's homeworld. Yes, and that's in Shatterpoint on Harun Khan. I think she's from that homeworld too. I think they're from the same one, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think they're from the same planet. They share the same homeworld, but I could be wrong on that. And Deepa would nearly kill Mace on that planet when she was sent to get her when he was sent to get her and stop her. Yeah. And then she basically commits suicide or tries to and takes the blade through her head. So there's that little bit of that story. Kind of tragic. And that's why, when this all happens and then Obi-Wan was promoted to the council, a seat was open reason why the seat was open is because Depa was basically, we don't know. I don't think it's ever expanded on if she is fully healed or not, or if she dies. So I know that he rescued her, and he was really concerned about her, and was hoping to have her in a healing trance and get healed so she can survive. That was never, I believe, never expanded on, but I have to go back. I may be wrong. I might be missing something on that. Let me see. Let me get this ad out of the way. Let me scroll this up. So we're going to get into the more of the meat and potatoes and what this guy is writing about. The form was commonly used by both Jedi and Sith during their ancient war, but it was eventually forbidden within the Jedi Order. That is because people could not control their emotions and they went dark. Remarkably, Mace Windu is only one of the few of this form who didn't fall to the dark side thanks to his refining Jayu into Vapad. Still, again, use of control of emotions, control of self when using that. That's why hardly anybody was trained, because no one was strong enough to control those emotions that, that could come up from using this form. Nevertheless, compared to the other lightsaber combat forms that ensure that Jedi would maintain complete control over the emotions, Vapad allowed the rage and fury to take over, and thus brought Windu and other practitioners closer to the dark side. Again, control. There's even control in Vapad. If there wasn't, then they would fall. Now, so if you used it and didn't have control, you fall to the dark side. Again, so it wasn't that Mace was basically losing control of himself. He had total control. He had total control. Let's see. According to Star Wars wider lore, Windu creates Vapad as a way to check his natural inner darkness. It was something he struggled with deeply as a young Padawan, even under the tutelage of Yoda and Master Caslin Mar. This goes back as far as when he began constructing his lightsaber. Mace, lacking patience and had difficulty letting go of his emotions. Mar began to help him channel his frustration that consumed him into more positive emotion. So basically, helping him control. Helping him control. Switching the emotions to a more positive light. These were actually born out of the religious devotions to the Jedi Order and their cause. This attachment makes him surprisingly similar to Anakin Skywalker. Let's see here. So there's a little bit of that history here. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Let me see what you guys have to say. Mace Windu didn't create Vapad on his own. He had help another Jedi named Sora Bulk to create it, correct. And I was going to get into that. Depa is not from the same planet. She is from, okay, I thought she was from the same, but I stand corrected. I thought that she was. My Vulcarian page goes over Depa's background and fate. All right, I seen you share that. I just didn't read it yet. I've been busy. But yeah, so yeah. So Soul Assassin is correct. He had help creating that. And that form here. So what do you guys think? Do you think that dark side is Mace's weakness or not? So let me know what you guys think in the chat. What do you think about this analysis that this writer has created regarding Mace, and how this probably is more than likely reflecting him in the Disney lore than in the original lore. Let's see here. And what they explained here is Mace Windu's master in the Disney lore. Let me see, because I don't recognize this person whatsoever. Let me see here. So what do you think? What do you think so far? Yeah, that Caslin Mur is definitely his trainer, his master in the Disney lore. So that's what we just read. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound, that Mar person doesn't sound like I even know who they are in the lore. let's see, hand, purple, blue, piece. Oh, so you're he's doing all that. Basically, tired are you? Rest you must have. He popped in my lunch on my lunch break. Thank you for tuning in. And nice to see you, Abu. And then Orange Hat says the way that Windu described it is he uses Valpod to ride the pendulum, the line between the dark and the light. He also channels the darkness from others and tune against them. It's how to beat Sidious. Yeah, and then my point is that he has total control of his emotions, because if he didn't, he would fall to the dark side. That's the point. That is the point. You have to have control. I don't think the dark side has no power over him. I'm sticking with original canon before the Disney sale. Correct. And what I shared was when I read that basically they're describing Disney lore here. I don't think it's a weakness. If you look at some of the Jedi who went dark and were redeemed, they are some of the greatest of all time. Great point. Because they have experience. That's even with Luke Skywalker. He recognizes how he is if he goes dark. And so this Sislin or Sislin Mar is basically his master from the Disney lore. So what I just read, and again, I knew, is basically they're making him be more like Anakin Skywalker, I guess you can say. I guess. I don't know what that means really, because Anakin, he's conflicted, but Anakin's conflicted because he's been being manipulated by Sidious. By the time Mace Windu joined the Jedi Council, he had matured, become a true champion of the Jedi Order. However, that maturity saw him get set in his ways, and thus his blind devotion to the Code and the Republic spelled his demise. He questioned a lot. I would say him and maybe Qui-Gon were the ones that weren't totally blinded or affected by the veil of the dark side, that are, I would say, clouded by the dark side. That Sidious or Palpatine, created that clouding of the dark side. He even questioned Jedi stepping up as generals in the army, saying that they were warrior. Basically, they were protectors of the peace and not soldiers. Windu showed a vulnerability to the dark side. That's not a vulnerability. If he has total control and he uses Valpod, that's not vulnerability. He has control of himself so he doesn't turn dark, and that's the difference. But this is Disney lore we're talking about. They're making him have this weakness. They're making the purple saber, and I think that I talked about this maybe a year and a half ago, about them confirming that the purple saber basically is a sign that the person is gray or is ambiguous with morality and all this other stuff. But it was thanks to the diligent training he received that he didn't end up like Anakin as a pawn to the Sith. Anakin's story compared to him is very different. Anakin didn't fall because he had dark side tendencies. He fell because he was manipulated and felt that he can use the dark side because of that manipulation of getting what he wanted. That's the difference. Ever since his death, Star Wars has continued to tell Mace's story in various projects. Most recently, he's featured in Tales of the Jedi, which details his ascent to the Jedi Council over his elder. So basically, they made rift between Dooku and Mace here in the lore. So, but that's Disney lore. And then series could have, okay, so there you go. It is actually surprising that Mace has been a central protagonist yet in a Star Wars novel, in a Disney Star Wars novel. Grand Admiral Thrawn has had 2 trilogies, but Mace Windu hasn't even had 1 book. Oh, well, too bad. He is an ideal candidate for examine further, and there would be a market for it. Star Wars could even go beyond his death if they retcon him as a Force ghost somehow. That would be out of lore, out of continuity. That would be lore breaking, because he was never taught. Only a few were trained by Qui-Gon, or a couple. are a few, I would say. That's Yoda, that's Obi-Wan, that's Anakin. That's it. That's all. All in all, Mace Windu's time in Star Wars and his history with the dark side are not complete, so he deserves more attention. What do you guys think about that? Would you like to see these stories come out of Mace? Do you think it's worth it? Because with the Disney history, it is common for them to bastardize these characters. Let's see, I don't think it's a weakness if you look at some of the Jedi who went dark. Oh yeah, I read that one already. Let me see. He even admits he created Valpod to answer his weakness, just as Yoda used a Turi to answer his weakness. Again, he had total control. When you have control of something, basically, then you cease to have the weakness, right? He has control of his emotions. If he didn't have control, and that's the main point I'm making, if he didn't have control of his emotions, then he would fall. Let's see here. Yes, and please hit the like button. Oh gee, oopsie, no book for Windu. Aw, yep. Less is more with some Star Wars characters. Telling their entire story lessens them in a way. It takes the mystery out. It takes the mystery out of the character, and all that. Let's see here. Hate what Disney has done to some of these potentially epic characters. Disney Lucasfilm would make Mace a victim. I'm only wording it how he did in episode 3 novel. And I'm letting you know, and in general, not just specifically you, that through the lore, so this includes episode 3 novel and expanding out, that for one to use Valpod, you have to have control of self. That's in control of emotions and stuff. That is exactly how it's done. And I use Quinlan Vos as an example when he's like, I can use it. I won't turn dark. He didn't have control of his emotions. That is why he failed when he used Valpod. Mace may have seen it as a weakness for him, but when you look at it, in order to use that form, you have to have total control. Total control means that you failed to have the weakness, that you overcame the weakness. Let's see here. Hi, Laura. Hope you are doing well today. Hello, Stig. How are you doing? We are discussing it for Cringe Factor. Mace Windu and the purple lightsaber means that there is a moral ambiguity to the character. Basically, they are gray or between the light and the dark or whatever, because blue and red means purple. And then I also just said that with the form, the Valpod form, one has to have total control of self so they don't turn dark, and that we discussed this regarding Quinlan Vos on CAFF Coffee Chat some time ago through the Republic comics, and how Quinlan's like, I can use a Valpod and try to use it, and he failed at it because he didn't have total control. So yeah, Disney wouldn't describe weakness like normal people might. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And this person probably doesn't understand that, through growth and experience, Windu learned to have control. Because he learned to have control, he is able to use Valpod. Not everybody can because they don't have control. Vapod, Valpod. I keep it now. I'm stuck on Valpod. So there were very few people who could use Valpod. Sora Bulk used it, but reverted back to Jayu when he fell. Yeah. And that was an interesting story because I wish I have to find the name and the number for those Republic comics on this exact topic, because it's wonderful to go back and review those, because you get more history into exactly who could and couldn't use Valpod and all that. and the control you need. Quinlan Voss Comics, thank you so much. Soul Assassin's on his game, you guys. Give a shout out to Soul Assassin for being an excellent moderator here. Thank you so much for your time and your effort. Any EU information is gone by going to be warped, even definitions of words. I guess you have a point. And then Star Wars Republic Comics in Order. Thank you so much again. You're on your game, and I'm not trying to, make it sound like I'm being controversial or being condescending about, my verbiage on having control, because yeah, one does have to have control. I recognize that Mace, recognizes weaknesses, but my point is, in order to use that form, one has to have control. And that was shown in the lore. So he really doesn't have a weakness anymore because he's gained control over it. He's grown past it. And that's my point. So the purple saber does not mean it is because he is in the middle ground of morality with himself, between good and dark, or good and bad, light and dark, because that's not what the purple saber has ever been about. If you want to say the color of the saber basically is based on the person's morality, then Leia should have been fallen to the dark side, because one of her first sabers was crimson or red. And then Luke, because his Shoto is red. Does that mean he's dark side, a Sith? No, it does not. Does that mean he has bad intention or he's morally bad? No, it does not. And that's my point. That's my point here. Correct, Stig. Purple lightsaber means purple crystal. That's it. That's all. That's as simple as it gets. Now, Sith preferred red because it distinguished them from the Jedi, but it doesn't mean it's a morality distinguish. It just means that's just the color preference. Like I said, when you look at Exar Kun, he used blue saber. And then his double bladed lightsaber, right? And then when so, and like, again, I use Leia as an example of using red at one point. Okay, let's go on. Don't get me started on Quinlan Voss, badass Jedi to Jason Momoa, surface super dude. We won't go there. We are only discussing here the authentic, original characters. Let's see here. If the saber color has to do with the wielder's morality, then how come Anakin's lightsaber is still blue when he kills the younglings? That's exactly, and that's been discussed many times before. It's not a mood ring. It's not about morality. Like, if it was about morality, then maybe he shouldn't have been able to ignite his lightsaber, right? Because it's blue. It's about being good, right? Or maybe it should have just turned red because he went Sith. He went dark. That's not how that works. And go ahead and check out Deepa Balaba's post that Orange Hat posted in my community page, as well as his secondary page, to learn more about that. I don't know why I was thinking that she was from the same planet as Mace, but she wasn't. But there's a great, more lore behind that, so go check that out. We are getting ready to close the show now. So if you tuned in, thank you guys so much. Today was a low-key day, and that's fine. Some days we'll be hopping with discussion with a lot of people, and some days we won't, and that's just how life is. You could find me on the Spacing this Friday. So we should have an interesting lineup for you guys as well. So stay tuned for all the topics on that. I look forward to coming straight in from teaching hot yoga and coming straight in and eating in my dinner and joining the guys. Always a great time with them, even when my mind is kind of tired from teaching and stuff. Always good to sit down and just get into some heavy discussion, and even sometimes lighthearted discussion or funny discussion on the topics that are presented at hand. So find me there as well. Soul Assassin says Young Han Solo meets Quinlan Voss comic. There you go. So what are they going to say about the other colors? Copper, orange, or even raise yellow? It's just the color of the crystal, correct? It's just the color of the crystal. It's not like a mood ring where it determines your morality, or like if you're good or bad or somewhere in between. That's not the case. So, we know green is another saber that's predominantly used by Jedi. So, but then they're saying blue and red make purple, but what about green? See how idiotic that concept is, for saying purple is the middle ground of morality, or of your you know of choosing to do bad things for good intentions. So there you go. So thank you guys, and tune in for the next CAFF chat, and stay tuned for coming Art of Star Wars. I know I've been promising you guys that for a while now. I'm sorry. There's been some things I haven't really been discussing that's going on in my life that are very private, and I'm squaring that away as well. And this Ralph McCurry, oh my God, it's been so fun researching him, and the other, I started put together other artists' backgrounds, biographies, and stuff like that. So it's been such a fun project, me nerding out on all this lore of art, that concept art, that it's like sometimes I'm like, I just want to share it all. And I have been making it longer than expected. And I think I need to cut it off at a point and just give it to you guys. Just give it to you. And so you guys can learn some things, and then whatever I didn't show, you can take into your own study, your own research on learning more. So maybe I'll do that, because it's just so unique. That guy, Ralph McCurry, him and Joe Johnston basically are the face of Star Wars in the beginning. And it's so magnificent, so interesting, such a beautiful thing. Let me see here. Remove that. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and please follow me on Twitter. Please check out the community page if you haven't become a member. Please check that out as well.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Shizor, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Shizor be stopped? Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
Now remember, that's your homework. Don't make me bust out the ruler. Thank you for tuning in to CAFF Chat. I will catch you next Thursday with some more fun lore topics and Cringe Factor. Thank you again, and may the Force be with you.
Another happy landing.
Oh, and one more thing. Siri Tachi had a purple lightsaber, but she was total light side. So thank you again, and may the Force be with you.